Developing tonight, Spokane police are investigating after an officer shoots 2 people in North Spokane.
We're back under a ridge of high pressure, and that means sunny skies and real cold nights.
If we had known that, Sam would still be alive today.
A historic ruling in Washington's Court of Appeals, why WSU may be held liable for a student's hazing death.
KREM 2 News 10 at 10 begins now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. Tonight, Spokane police are investigating what led up to a police shooting in North Spokane this afternoon. Spokane police say an officer shot 2 people, sending them to the hospital. SPD says officers responded to a domestic violence call on East Sanson Avenue near the Northtown Mall. They say shortly after officers entered the home, one of them shot a male suspect. A woman was also hit by gunfire. Both were taken to the hospital and are expected to survive. Spokane Police Chief Kevin Hall spoke with us at the scene.
There was obviously a reason why the officer was felt threatened and utilized deadly force, but I'm not at liberty to disclose that at this time.
Chief Hall says there were 3 officers in the house at the time of this shooting. The SEER team is taking over the investigation tonight. Spokane Police says they'll release the names of the officers involved in the shooting at a later date. And new tonight, the U.S. Senate has narrowly confirmed former Fox News host and combat veteran Pete Hegseth as the next Secretary of Defense. Hegseth was confirmed in a vote mostly along party lines, with 51 voting in favor and 50 against. Through the process, some cited concerns about Hegseth's alleged alcohol abuse, the treatment of his ex-wife, and past comments about women in the military. Well, an Ada County judge is considering what evidence to include in the trial of the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students. The suspect, Brian Kohberger, was back in court today for a second time this week. The students were murdered in their off-campus home back in November of 2022. Their families have now been waiting for more than 2 years for trial to begin. After 3 days of arguments, the judge in the Brian Kohberger case must now decide whether to allow key DNA evidence to be presented in his murder trial. The defense argued police should have secured a search warrant before detectives analyzed DNA collected from the crime scene and before they gathered and tested items out of Kohberger's trash at his Pennsylvania home. The state does not believe collection of evidence at the crime scene or in the weeks that followed violated any of Kohberger's rights.
Particularity requirements objective is that necessary searches should be as limited as possible. A search warrant must be particular enough so that as to what is taken, nothing is left to the discretion of the officer executing the warrant.
All of these warrants were not general warrants. They were all sufficiently particular. They were specific to the type, each one of them listed that they were specific to the type of crime, the location, and all but one of them had temporal limitations.
The judge says he will be taking all of the arguments from the week into consideration before issuing his ruling.
They had a terrible history. University leaders knew that all the way up to the top, and they did nothing.
In a first for Washington State, a court found a university bears some responsibility for a student's hazing death. Sam Martinez died in 2019 during a fraternity event. KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy spoke with his family's attorney, who says they're now closer to the trial and justice they've sought all along.
In November 2019, WSU freshman Sam Martinez died from acute alcohol poisoning. The result, Pullman police and WSU agreed, of hazing at Alpha Tau Omega, or ATO.
That same fraternity had a years-long disciplinary track record of hazing and drug and alcohol violations, other misconduct. If we had known that, Sam would still be alive today.
But Sam's mother, Jolene Houts, argued WSU was also to blame. This week, the Court of Appeals agreed the school bears some responsibility.
Extremely important. This is one of the clearest and, in my view, common sense rulings that has recently come out.
John Fazzola is the family's attorney. He says the ruling isn't just clear, it's historic.
The university has a duty to exercise reasonable care and to control and mitigate the fraternity's conduct to protect foreseeable victims, mainly pledges or other fraternity members.
WSU argued because the illegal hazing happened at ATO's off-campus house, it wasn't responsible. The court said it did have a duty to not only control the frat, but protect Sam from the foreseeable harms of hazing and alcohol misuse.
And when I found out, I have tears in my eyes because I was like, justice. You cannot say that you're not responsible. You're the one responsible for my son.
I was thrilled, really. I mean, this is about accountability. It's about holding WSU to account for what they knew was happening.
Happening, they say, for years before Sam died. The ruling outlines several times the frat endangered students, making them handle raw sewage and exposing them to aggressive hazing, with a 2017 parent complaint saying freshmen were made to drink large amounts of alcohol. The court said ATO used an off-campus house or live-out to avoid WSU's ban on alcohol, and that WSU knew it.
Even just months before Sam's tragic death, the fraternity's president was talking about the high risk that the live-out presented and was asking the university for help.
The ruling means the family's lawsuit is back on the table. Their exhaustive work of uncovering years of hazing may go to trial.
One of the family's primary goals has been to get this case in front of a jury.
WSU can appeal and send the case to the state's Supreme Court.
And now to Nightbeat with a quick look at the day's top stories. Tonight, a man who police say shot and killed another man at a Spokane Valley Safeway last October had his murder charges dropped. Court documents say Jonathan Bryman pleaded guilty to 1 count of second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm. This is a felony conviction, and he will spend 90 days in jail. Tonight, a man is suing the Grant County Sheriff's Office after he says he was falsely accused of planning a shooting at the Gorge Amphitheater. KREM 2 has been tracking this story since the alleged incident in 2022. Grant County Sheriff's deputies arrested 33-year-old Jonathan Moody outside the music venue. At the time, the Sheriff's Office said they believed he was planning a shooting. Witnesses reportedly saw him with 2 pistols before he approached someone at the concert, asking them what time the show ended and where people would be exiting the concert. Days after his arrest, the Sheriff's Office walked back their accusations. The lawsuit seeks damages for the harm caused by the false allegations, unlawful arrest, and emotional distress. We reached out to the Sheriff's Office, who declined to comment due to the pending litigation. The FBI says it's arrested a 21-year-old Washington woman for the fatal shooting of a U.S. Border Patrol agent this week. The shooting happened in Vermont, about 13 miles south of the Canadian border. The FBI says Teresa Youngblood and a German man who died in the firefight were under surveillance for several days. The agent stopped the pair on a highway, and the man appeared to have an expired visa. Youngblood is accused of opening fire, killing Border Patrol agent David Molland. Today, a police procession was held in Burlington, Vermont for the fallen officer. Youngblood is charged with assault on a federal law enforcement officer. And that was your Nightbeat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website, KREM.com. And taking a break from the headlines, let's take a look at the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo.
We have yet another cold night ahead of us with clear skies. Temperatures are dropping. We are going to make it all the way down into the teens once again. But with how stagnant our air is, we're back under an air stagnation advisory. Basically what that means is that anything emitted into the atmosphere, tailpipes, chimneys, you name it, that emission is going to sit in the low levels of the atmosphere. So you might notice a little more of an atmospheric haze in the coming days. Right now, air quality doesn't seem to be suffering, but with that ridge of high pressure overhead, what we know is that over the course of the next few days, it will likely slowly get worse. Tomorrow morning, waking up to temperatures down in the teens, 16 in Spokane, 12 in Coeur d'Alene, 20 in Ritzville, and teens in Pullman and Moscow. You're in the low teens up near the Canadian border, but by tomorrow afternoon, we're all back up around or above freezing. I think we warm up quite nicely after what we did earlier today. It was a telltale sign of what is to come. So the next few days, I think we're cold each morning, sunny and mild each afternoon.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Spokane is hosting one of the nation's largest indoor track events. More than 1,000 elite athletes will be at the podium this weekend. When Spokane first started hosting this event 4 years ago, it was a single-day event. Now it's a 3-day weekend full of competition. Athletes from 9 states are coming to compete. They can qualify for national championships. And that was KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed just yet. President Donald Trump turning heads tonight after he says he's considering getting rid of FEMA. Plus, as crews continue to fight the devastating California wildfires, one Spokane company is stepping in to help. We'll be back in just 90 seconds.